Good evening. Welcome everyone here in the room and watching us remotely. We thank you for joining us tonight for the first ever Regions Bank GameChange. Now, you may be asking, what is the Regions Bank GameChange? This is going to be a live panel discussion. We're going to do two sessions. For all of you student athletes and your families, we're focusing on the current state of name, image, and likeness, financial wellness, money management, and what you need to know about all these new opportunities that face you as a college athlete and college student. And we'll feature current NCAA conference officers, financial wellness experts, and some great people from here at Regions. So we're thrilled that you're here. My name is Ryan Brown. I host a sports show here in Birmingham. It is called The Next Round. We are part of a multimedia platform on YouTube and podcast and all other video platforms. I also host a Sunday night show. I'm part of a Sunday night show on ABC 3340 here in town. As part of that, we have done almost 20 NIL deals with athletes just like you. So this is a space I've operated in, and I've seen how it can work, and I've seen some of the ways that people can get taken advantage of. So we want to try to educate you on that so you can avoid that. Now, there are ways you can submit questions. We will take questions remotely, and there will be a QR code that will appear on the screen as it rotates. And if you'll just scan that QR code, you can immediately submit a question, and we'll get to those questions at some point. All right, let me introduce to you who we'll be talking with in our first session here. To the far right, to my far right, to your left is Tim Pernetti. He is the commissioner of the AAC. He's going to talk about implications of NIL from a conference level, as well as a point of view on student athlete financial education and tools, resources available for students and family. Welcome in, Tim. Good to see you.
Good to see you all.
Tim is in town. You were in town for the UAB Tulane game Saturday, I believe, right?
I was in town for the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Two fine American institutions there.
A lot of green in the stadium.
A lot of green in the stadium, that's right. Rich McGlynn is in the middle. Rich is the Executive Deputy Athletics Director at Auburn. As you know, schools of the Southeastern Conference are some of the most active participants in the NIL ecosystem. He's going to talk to us about the financial impact of NIL on student athletes and universities' perspective on raising money to support the NIL landscape. And that's something you deal with every single day.
Every day. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And finally, John Jordan is the region's head of retail banking. He's got a long history helping student athletes and universities. And of course, they've been the driving force in organizing these events. So welcome into your home building. You're the one guy that just had to take an elevator down.
Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys hosting us. Again, you can submit your questions. Oh, yes, please, a round of applause for that. My apologies. The smattering of applause. I'm sorry, I skipped that part. You can submit your questions for any of these gentlemen and for our panelists in the next segment. Let's start with you, Tim. You've watched as the amateur athlete landscape has changed. What do you think has been the most significant impact of name, image, likeness at the conference level, specifically your conference, the American? What have you seen on the conference level as the biggest impact?
Well, I think the impact at the conference level is sort of the impact that you're seeing across colleges, universities, the NCAA. It's sort of impacting at every level. But what I would tell all of you is it's something that's way overdue, because I'm a new commissioner. I'm from North Jersey. I'm a little more outspoken than a lot of the commissioners that are in the room, and I think that our industry in collegiate athletics has failed to modernize and really sort of catch up with what the realities are. So how NIL has changed things, which it's a great time to be a student athlete, is it was this way before, but now it's being formalized. Student athletes are our partners in everything we do. So every business transaction, any naming rights deal, anything that you're looking at on the commercial side, we're looking at student athletes as partners. I think what's changed really in a positive way for student athletes, and this is exciting, is that you're now finally being recognized for who you are, which is there are no... college presidents might disagree, but there's no stronger marketing arm to any university than athletics, period. Okay, it's this huge door you can open up to show everything else that's going on at the university. Who better to be brand ambassadors of that than you? You are the reason that fans, donors, alumni show up. So your responsibility to build the brand is an important one. Should you be compensated for that? I think that you should. But comes with a lot of responsibility, including being smart. I think a step that the industry skipped is education. So if you're on the front of NIL or have these opportunities, educate yourself on what it really means. You may think you're making a decision today, but if you make the wrong decision, it will affect you for the rest of your life. So just make sure, like if they want you today, they'll want you tomorrow. So you don't need to make a decision today. Get yourself educated. But it's a great time to be a student athlete. Make no mistake about it.
So, Rich, let me ask you from a school standpoint. You're at Auburn, one of the powers in college athletics and a power conference in the Southeastern Conference. So you see this on a day-to-day. What is your approach as an institution at Auburn to NIL? How would you describe the Auburn institutional approach?
It's holistic. We come in it every day with trying to figure out how can we maximize what we're doing to enhance our student athlete experience, to get the Auburn family to buy into name, image, and likeness. It's new, and so our fan base is still adapting to that. And the way the NCAA enacted name, image, and likeness was different, and trying to find guidance from the NCAA or from anywhere for a while was very difficult. And so you really felt like you're out on an island on campus trying to figure out how to do this and how to do it correctly and how to optimize our student athletes' values. And so every day we come to work thinking about how can we maximize not just the Auburn brand, but our student athletes brands. And then how can we strengthen the Auburn brand and the student athlete brand collectively, and then we can strengthen them and move all boats rise, right? And so we come every day trying to figure out what can we do to make the Auburn brand stronger and make our student athletes brand stronger.
So, John, from a Regions Bank perspective, you've heard from Tim how NIL is changing athletics. It provides new opportunities, but it opens the door to some decisions and planning that could be new. I mean, we were all this age once, right? And this was a lot to take in at this age. What are some things students and their families need to be considering when they have NIL opportunities? And I'm going to get Rich and Tim to weigh in on this as well from their perspective, but from somebody that operates in the financial industry day in, day out, what are some things you need to make sure that you take stock of when you're making these decisions?
Well, first of all, congratulations on being a student athlete. It's a very, very difficult responsibility. I know it's like having a full-time job in school right now. And the opportunities that you have, I agree, there's never been a time like this to be a student athlete. But everybody, whether you're a student athlete or you're me or any of us, really need to be thoughtful about a plan, because you are coming into an opportunity to make money, just like you will be when you get your first internship or your first job, when you're finished with college. But when you start to have financial responsibilities, things can get confusing. Things can get more complex for you. So the decisions that you need to make are just different than what you may have grown up around. And particularly with large sums of money coming in all of a sudden, there's things that you need to understand about taxes or saving or credit, that it really takes education. I have 4 kids. I know we all talk about our kids a little bit up here earlier. Whether you're a student athlete or not, they need help and guidance. And I think there's a lot of financial institutions out there. There's a lot of educational resources out there that you can spend some time just learning. What does it look like to have a financial plan? What does it look like to set up your first savings account? What fraud and things like that, what kind of schemes do you need to be on the lookout for to protect yourself, to protect your assets, and really to start to build wealth at a really young age? Again, congratulations. I think it's a great opportunity for all of you to start young and to really get a plan and a solid foundation for the future.
And Rich, operating in an athletics department every day like you do, I'm sure you've seen this in real time. I'm sure you've seen students have to make those decisions that maybe they've never had to make before.
We do every day.
Yeah.
And, we're having conversations with them all the time about what's their value, and are you going to do a certain task for a certain amount of dollars? And if you do that, are you creating the market? And then are you establishing what your market is? And then we spend a ton of time with them just having them understand the details. Most of these deals are transactional contracts, and the contracts normally are written by the companies. And most of the time, those companies write the contracts in favor of the company. And so to be able to spend time with our student athletes and have them understand exactly what those clauses in the contract mean, that you're not just giving up your rights maybe today, but you may be giving up your rights for the rest of your life. And understanding that, and is that really worth $1,000? Or is that worth $10 to do a tweet? And so making sure our student athletes think about what's their value, what are they willing to do, What's their line? Who do they want to align themselves with? We spend a significant amount of time with our student athletes just talking about branding. What do they stand for? What do they want to align with? Making sure that their own core personal values align with the corporate's values. Don't just take the money because it's in front of you, but make sure who you're associating with is who you want to be. So we spend a significant amount of time making sure we're educating our student athletes, but I'd also say making sure we're educating the people around our student athletes. Because for us at Auburn, many of our student athletes are first generation college attendees. And so we want to make sure not just our student athletes, but the people surrounding our student athletes understand what a great opportunity that they have before them. Tim's exactly right. What we say at Auburn a lot is, it's a blessing to be a student athlete, so go be a blessing. And try to take name, image, and likeness, and not just pocket that money for yourself, but also try to go be a blessing and do some good in society as well.
Yeah, if I could jump in real quick, Tim, before you go. I mentioned we've done, with our company, 15 to 20 of these NIL deals with students from UAB, Alabama, and Auburn. And all of them sign a contract. Not all of them use an agent. And I understand that. Not everyone's going to use an agent. But how many of you are in contract law in school? That's what I thought. It's pretty confusing, right? So get some help. I mean, don't just assume what someone slides in front of you is what you need to sign. There are people in athletics departments that will help you out. So I'll just give that word of caution. From a conference standpoint, as you look at it from a conference standpoint, you're over a number of athletes, a number of schools, and they're all having to make those decisions. What do you see in the athletes in the American and the other conferences that you've dealt with as they have these new financial decisions? What word of advice would you give to them?
I'd give them some of the same advice the guys have already talked about, and sound like a broken record, but I think you should start with, and we've told all the student athletes this, when you look at an opportunity, start with who you are. Start thinking about, what if XYZ company that you aligned with in a transactional opportunity because you wanted the money is suddenly in a bad headline in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times. Whether you like it or not, that is now a reflection on you because you have chosen to associate yourself with that brand. So you have to start with creating alignment and thinking about what makes sense for you as an individual. If any of you don't know who she is, I would encourage you to look up Deja Kelly. She plays women's basketball for the University of Oregon. She played 4 years at North Carolina before she transferred. I sat on a panel with her in New York, and she talked about this. And she also talked about how half of her NIL deals provide equity, no cash. So she's actually building a future for herself based on aligning with the right groups and companies. The second thing we see is we're beating people over the head a little bit with this, but education. We see more people reaching out for education. And to the point about getting advisors, like if someone offered you $10,000, I know how it would be if I was your age. And by the way, many of you in this room are probably like, what are these people talking about? Like, I'm never going to be in an NIL deal. I certainly would have been the same way. Like, nobody was trying to buy my jersey in college, okay? But if you have the opportunity, my advice is get counsel and pay for it now. Because if you don't, you will pay for it later, okay? There's two kinds of collectives out there. One is bad. They're using it as a vehicle to get closer to you, to influence you. The other is good. They are lined up with the mission of the university and the athletics department to fundraise and build the brand. Okay, they're not in it for selfish reasons. But you need to surround yourself with people that understand this space. Because if you don't, you will pay for a decision for years to come and maybe for the rest of your life. So our student athletes are really asking more about how to get better educated. And whether you're doing NIL or not, it doesn't matter. This is about financial literacy, like understanding what all this means in your life. It's an invaluable skill as you take your life out of the college experience into whatever it is that you choose to do.
So let's talk about any day you are on social media or you're surfing the internet, you see the phrase revenue sharing as it relates to the NCAA. And it gets talked about like student athletes like these getting their cut of the pie, their share of the revenue. How do you see this impacting college athletics? On the conference level for you, maybe Rich, if you could maybe comment on the institutional level, how do you see revenue sharing playing into the lives of these students?
You know, the challenging part of it for colleges and universities is they're going to have to make some tough decisions about revenue sharing. Because just because lawyers and settlements say that you can share revenue with student athletes doesn't mean that people have safes full of money sitting around to share it with you. That's just a reality. Colleges and universities are not-for-profit entities. Some struggle to make it meet. Some are drawing university support or student fees to make it work. So it's going to have an impact. I think some institutions may be faced with difficult decisions about what they even are able to do. But to the point of being a student athlete, again, great time to be a student athlete. This House agreement that you've been hearing about, this big lawsuit, billions of dollars in back damages and settlements, it's going to be good for the industry because it'll give us a chance to put some real guardrails around what's going to happen in the future. But it also creates more benefits for all of you. So as a commissioner, I really care about one thing, honestly. And everybody's like, well, what do you do? It's the business side, it's TV rights, it's all that crap. But if you put all of it aside, one important thing stands out. Student athlete experience has to be great. Like when I went to college and played football, I signed up for a place where I thought my experience was going to be great, and it was. So when I took this job, I said, I know what all my responsibilities are, but how do we make the experience great for student athletes? Through NIL, like we're talking about, league-wide jersey patches. And not because we need to give more money to the institutions, because we want that money to flow directly to student athletes. Like you're the asset that we're putting something on. You should benefit directly from that. So where NIL is going to change is going to get more creative. But at the conference level, revenue sharing, we're trying to advise our schools. We're asking for everybody to invest at a minimum level, so everybody's in it together. And then if schools have the ability to do more than that, then it's a free market. They should do that. But this is going to be one of the more challenging periods of time that collegiate athletics has ever seen.
Rich, you're at a SEC school. You just bury money in the back, right? It's an endless supply of cash in an SEC school, right?
It's really interesting because Tim's exactly right. It doesn't matter what level you're at, you're still competing. And whether you're going to give 22%, you're going to give 12%, it doesn't matter. You're still competing. And just so everyone understands, most businesses that are out there that are running, if you're operating a business, you're probably going to operate in between the 10 and 20% of whatever you're going to gross. You're going to profit about 10 to 20% of that in business. Some businesses it's better than that, but generally speaking, if you're making $1 million and grossing $1 million, you're going to take home anywhere between $100,000 and $200,000 in that scenario, right? So when we're operating an athletics department, we're now being asked to share 22% of our revenue with no additional revenue coming in. And so we have to figure out, okay, how are we going to fund that? And so we're all doing it. It doesn't matter what level you're in. It doesn't matter what conference you're in. Whether you're talking about a $200 million budget or you're talking about a $20 million budget. To find 22% is difficult as anyone operating any complex organization. And so we are spending a significant amount of time running all different kind of models on how we're actually going to make this work. Now we're blessed. We have a very big budget, and so we're going to be able to operate at the highest level in order to compete at the highest level. But that still takes a lot of effort from not just our student athletes and our coaches, but all of our employees buying into that too, and understanding that the way we've operated for the last 100 years is different. I think this is the best time in college athletics. We always talk about how the NCAA came about 100 years ago, and there are concussions and Rutgers and Princeton, and therefore the NCAA had to come about. I think 100 years from now, they're going to be talking about this time when college athletics has changed, when we started paying student athletes. And I get excited about that. It's the first opportunity that I really feel like in 19 years that we can sit with our student athletes and really affect them in a positive way.
So let me ask from the Regions Bank perspective. So for those of you who don't know, Regions Bank operates in how many states now?
15.
15 states. So it's one of the great banks in America. You guys are corporate partners in college athletics. You've been involved in those states in college athletics. So how do you see NIL impacting a bank like Regions? What's been the Regions Bank reaction to it?
Well, I mean, I think just like with any business or any community organization, colleges are really important to us. I mean, it's an important part of the communities in which we serve. You are the future leaders in the communities in which we live. And so it's important that we have thriving colleges. It's important that we have thriving community members. It's important that we have people who are educated on financial wellness so that you can really help be the leaders in your community. So we spend a lot of time on college campuses. As a matter of fact, we've had 300 plus events going on to college campuses doing financial wellness training. Conversations like we're having tonight really with students just about things to look out for, things to be aware of, things you may not have learned in high school or from your family at home. I know it's very difficult sometimes to have financial conversations with your parents. I know for me, by the time my kids were old enough to need financial help, they didn't want to hear from me necessarily. And so those conversations are difficult. And so as a bank, the way that we look at NIL is the way we look at any other financial situation that our customers go through, which is they need advice, they need help, they need a plan. We're here for that. And we have 1,200 branches across those 15 states with people who are trained to help people put together a plan. And those plans are really based on what's important to you. Is it giving to your favorite cause? Is it saving for a house? Is it building credit? Is it taking care of a loved one? I mean, those things are big life events that all of us go through, and you need a plan in order to get ready for that. And there's a lot of banks, a lot of financial institutions, like I mentioned, who this matters a lot to, because we all want thriving communities and people who are leaders.
So from an Auburn perspective, let me ask, you guys have raised a lot of money in NIL. There's no secret to that. How have you seen, if you could say, this is one way Auburn has done it different than maybe some of your peers, maybe some of the other SEC or Big Ten or ACC schools around that you have seen, how would you say Auburn maybe has done it a little differently?
Well, Auburn, we talk about being the Auburn family. And so we have just made sure that we focus on our culture, focus on who we are as an institution, and getting our fan base to buy into the fact that NIL is new, but it's a good thing for our student athletes, and making sure that our donors feel value for what they're giving, and making sure that our student athletes are thankful for what they're giving, so that they feel like there's an alignment. And because, again, I think the worry is, or the concern is, in NIL, it's so transactional, and we're losing the relationship part of it. At Auburn, we are a relational school. And so I think where we're different is we do it all through the relationships that we've built over time. And being able to have someone who just loves Auburn and bleeds orange and blue, that pulls on your heartstring a little bit. Now listen, here's the reality though. This is truth. We spend millions of dollars. Our football team is 2-4. If you've donated to our collective and you've given us millions of dollars, and the football team is 2-4, you start asking questions. You start wondering why am I giving this type of money? That's the reality of the world we're living in now. Because at the end of the day, in sports, there's a winner and there's a loser. You can be the 5th best bank in the country, and you're a huge rousing success. They'll write articles about you in Time magazine. You can be the 5th in best whatever, and if you play the 4 in front of you, you're going to be 0-4 in college athletics. And that's unique in the way we do it and in the business structure we're running. And so we try to be a little unique in the sense that we build strong relationships with our fan base, with our donors, with our student athletes, and try to connect them together so that there's a relationship and it's not just a transaction. Because listen, the vast majority of our student athletes are not going pro. What I love about sitting in the room with our student athletes is I'll say to them, listen, 2% of you are going to be professional student athletes. In a room this big of all student athletes, I'll say, okay, if you're part of the 2%, raise your hand. And every single one of them raises their hand. That's why they're in the room. But the reality is 98% of them aren't. And so we want our student athletes to understand, take advantage of the opportunity you have before you for this 4 or 5 year period of eligibility, and utilize it for good. But understand it's not transactional, it's relational, because more than likely you're going to need a job. And even if you go pro, you're going to be a professional for 3 to 5 years. You're going to be 28 years old, and you're going to need a job the rest of your life. So we try to build relationships, and we're using name, image, and likeness to help our student athletes build those relationships with our donors and our business owners sooner than we were ever able to do in the past. In the past, the NCAA would say, you can't do that. That could be considered an extra benefit, or that can be a recruiting inducement. Now with name, image, and likeness, our student athletes are able to gain these relationships and learn from really astute, great business people at age 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I would kill to have that experience when I was your age. And so we talk to our student athletes about making sure that they're building strong relationships with our donor base. And that what we do with our donor base on the other side of that is we make sure they understand, yes, it's about winning and losing, but it's about bigger than that. It's the holistic approach. It's about developing our student athletes, going back to what Tim referred to as, it's the student athlete experience. Winning's a big component of that, don't get me wrong, at the SEC level. But there's so much more to it than just winning, making sure that our donors and our fan base understand that side of it as well.
So from a conference commissioner standpoint, the American is a unique conference. I mean, you've got a large variety of teams. You've got service academies, Army and Navy. who incidentally are 5-0 at the same undefeated this late in the season for the first time
since 1942.
1942.
Awesome.
So Army and Navy, give them a round of applause. How about Army and Navy? It's always good to see them. It's always good to see Army and Navy play well, isn't it?
No downside.
Yeah, no downside. But then you've got Charlotte, and you've got Tulane, you've got UAB, you've got USF. I mean, you've got Memphis. You've got all different kinds of schools. And to what Rich was talking about, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. I mean, the service academies are going to do it differently than Memphis does it.
That's the hardest part about being in a commissioner role is everybody will come to me and say the same thing, like, hey, Tim, what are we doing conference-wide on this issue or this issue or revenue sharing? I'm sitting there saying, like, we can implement mandated strategies on this stuff, but one size does not fit all. And by the way, Army and Navy, like, those got to be the two best AD jobs on the planet. No NIL,
That's right.
No transfer portal, and God forbid a kid needs discipline, the school handles it.
That's right.
Right? You're coaching.
Yeah.
You're just coaching the
That's
sport.
right.
But we do have a really unique mix of colleges and universities. I think that's the benefit to why we are who we are. You know, sometimes everybody can't look the same, do the same, feel the same to be in the same conference. It has real diversity about it. But the one thing everybody's committed to is trying to make sure the student athlete experience is the very best it can be. And what I have urged them all to do is, like, I could put policies in place and try to mandate things. What I've said to all of them is, with this House settlement coming, you have an opportunity to invest in student athletes. And I think what's going to happen is things are going to prospectively start to separate. Some colleges and universities may not be willing to make that investment or able to make that investment. It's more about their ability than their willingness to do it. But things are going to change pretty dramatically. And in our conference, we're trying to just keep a couple North Stars in place. And the number one thing is just making sure, like, if you all were in my conference, I'd be focused on making sure you had the best experience possible. And if you didn't, I would expect to hear from you so we could actually try to do something about it. But don't get distracted by what's going on around you. And what Rich said is really important. Donors think giving to NIL guarantees a winning season. Like, it's absurd. Okay? When I worked on a campus, I worked at Rutgers when I was athletic director there for 4 years. And I went to school there and had a great experience there. I met my wife there who competed in athletics. The place meant so much to me, and I raised money every single day. And when we started to lose, people would say, I'm giving all this money and you're losing. Like, I expect to. And I would say, what you give to this university is providing student athletes an opportunity. And you know what the return on the investment is? It's right here. Like, your return is never going to be something you're going to put in your pocket. It's going to be something that you feel when someone accomplishes something. When you watch a student athlete where you donated for a scholarship walk across the stage and graduate. But I think because this culture has become so commercial, people are giving to NIL and they're saying, you better go undefeated. Yeah. Like, I'm giving the money, I'm expecting you to undefeated. And we have to kind of bring people's feet back to earth on these things. Because all of the revenue that I can generate as a commissioner on the commercial business, media rights, what Rich can generate in fundraising, it's all for you. People are forgetting that. We're trying to do something to give you the opportunity to have an experience. And I don't know what sport you play, and it doesn't matter. I don't care what division you play at, it's hard. It's the hardest thing that you will ever do in your life. But when you go out into the world, you will be able to identify people in the room that did what you did. And you'll be able to pick out the people that didn't do what you did. And you will have an advantage. You don't feel it right now, but when you get out there, you will.
So we have a question, and any of you can jump in on this. Could we maybe help some people understand the process around finding NIL opportunities? And I don't mean to exclude you, John, but these guys are doing it on a day-to-day basis. I've got more for John in a second.
Call John at Regents.
That's right, call John.
At Auburn, we have multiple people that come to work every day thinking about our student athletes and their NIL opportunities. And so it can run the gamut from paying $5 for a tweet or getting free clothing for an appearance to getting a significant amount of money for a specific sponsorship deal. And so there's different ways to go about it. We have individuals that are very, very active on social media, and the deals come to them through social media. And then we have individuals that are, I would argue, more at that star level. I mean, we had Suni Lee at Auburn, making really good NIL money. And one of the benefits of NIL was Suni got to decide, I'm going to be a college student athlete as well, where in the past, a gold medalist normally had to make the decision of turning pro to get that money while they could and then come back to school later. SUNY got the opportunity to do both. And so for SUNY, the money just came and the opportunity came because of who she is. But just an everyday student athlete, I'd say social media. I'd say make sure you're talking to someone at your school. It doesn't matter what school it is now. There's someone at the school that is coming to work in the athletics department thinking about NIL every day, whether it's to raise $1,000 or to raise $10 million. Someone's doing it. Find that person on your campus. The other people I'd say to is go to your business school. Find your marketing department. Find someone in who's maybe a marketing professor. There are people that can connect you out there. Find the connectors. In life, what I found is there are people that don't necessarily have money, but there's people that know all the people who have money. Find the connectors as a student athlete. And what we do at Auburn is we try to help our student athletes find the connectors, and then we connect them to them, and then they go out and help them do it.
This next question, I'll start with you, John, because you're the director of retail banking, so you're dealing with businesses on a daily basis. You know how crucial it is for a business to have a good public image. So the question is, what advice do you give for future partnerships with NIL brands? So kind of from a banking, a financial perspective, as you look at businesses, you know how important a business's image is.
Sure. Well, your reputation is very difficult to build, and it's very easy to lose. And so I would say, we talked about earlier that the people that you align yourself with, whether you're friends or your business colleagues or the company you decide to work for, you want to be proud to be a part of that. You want to be proud to be associated with that. And so as you're thinking about NIL deals, don't sell yourself out. Think about companies and things that have alignment to your personal beliefs as possible. That is a really important thing, because if you're tied to a brand, it doesn't matter what that brand is, and that brand does something that is shameful or something that you would be ashamed of, then it leaves a mark. And all of us have dealt with that in our careers, being parts of different organizations where something may have happened that you may not have been directly associated with, but you wear that brand every day. I wear a Regions badge every single day, so it's really important to me that Regions has a great reputation so that I can talk about it with my friends and my family and talk about the great things that we're doing here, working at a purpose-driven company. And so you want to be thinking about that as you're aligning yourself to any organization or any person.
Tim, I'll pose this next one to you, another question from the audience. Leveraging experience as a student athlete into internships or post-grad job opportunities. You've seen this as an athletics director at Rutgers, as a conference commissioner. Athletics can often open doors that other students wouldn't have the opportunity to walk through.
You have a great advantage already in that you're in an environment surrounded by relationships. And you're surrounded by people that care so much about the success of your school and athletics that they'll do whatever it takes to support you. The mistake I think a lot of young people make that play a sport in college is they wait too long. I'm graduating, I want to start to connect with people. You need to start to work your network and build your network, just starting with, we didn't have this stuff when, I don't know how old you guys are, but I didn't have this stuff. LinkedIn, all this technology, you have a huge advantage right now. And you don't need to start by just cold reaching out to LinkedIn people that are in an industry you're interested in. Start with people that are alumni of your university. Okay? You already have a common connection there. While you probably don't need more to do in your lives, show up at events. When there's events on game days, show up, meet people, introduce yourselves, because you've already got an advantage in that you have access to those people, and those people want to help young people however they can, especially if they're an alumni of the school. Okay? So think about that. The other side of it is, don't be afraid to trot out the fact that you were a student athlete in college. I meet more student athletes about jobs that bury what they did as a student athlete at the bottom of their resume. Okay? Talk about your experience. Because guess what? I would bet everybody in this room that competes in a sport is going to be better at managing their time, dealing with adversity, better at relationships, better at dealing with people in difficult situations. What do you think happens when you become a professional? Things go wrong. You have to deal with adversity. There's too much on your plate. You have to manage your time. You don't like the guy in the cubicle next to you. You got to deal with conflict. Are you telling me you haven't already done that as a student athlete? So you have advantages. But start small. Start with creating a network of people that are around something that you care about and they care about. And from there, those people will care so much that they will open doors. If you wait until you're a senior, it's too late. Okay? Don't let the time pass. Take advantage of it while you have their attention and while you have their interest.
Rich, this next one I think would be good for you as someone that's involved in an institution on a day-to-day. Amateurism in college sports. How do you think NIL impacts that, especially the high revenue sports? And that's one thing I would say about NIL is when it first started, everybody said, oh, it's only going to benefit the starting quarterback. And that really has not been the case. I mean, there have been opportunities for many, many, many varieties of students.
Well, I'll tell you when in 2010 we had Cam Newton on our campus, and my whole philosophy changed about name, image, and likeness. Seeing what Cam went through and seeing just how many number 2 jerseys were sold and just the whole chaotic scene of winning a national championship, having the best football player on the best team in the country, really changed my paradigm as an administrator about, we need to think differently about this. And so how amateurism is going to be defined into the future is a really good question. But I'd say this, y'all are young, you don't remember this, but Olympians used to be a different definition of amateurism than what they are today. So college athletes are going to probably still be quote unquote amateurs in some form. The question is, what does that really mean? What's the definition of that moving forward? If I could answer that today, I'd go out and become a consultant and make a ton of cash because we truly don't know. It's just it's the reality of it. It's kind of the chaotic situation that our industry is in right now is we are redefining what is an amateur at the collegiate level. We do know so far is that the pay per play bylaw will remain. And so many of our student athletes, although believe that they're being paid to be a basketball player or a baseball player, they are not. They are being paid because they have value in their name, image, and likeness, maybe because they play football or basketball or baseball or gymnastics, but they're not being paid to play the sport. And I believe that that bylaw is going to be retained, and I think that philosophical approach is going to be retained. Now, will it evolve and modify over time? I believe it will. What it looks like a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, my guess is going to be different than what the definition of an amateur is today.
John, let me ask you this from a banking perspective, banks like Regions and other banks that are on Regions level. How do you serve student athletes in a unique way? Like, so these student athletes, they all go sign a big NIL deal and they come to a bank like Regions.
I think that at Regions, really the goal is to help you have a plan. We talked a little bit about that. We have something called Green Print. It's a play on words, right? Like a blueprint for your life. You come in and really get a green print that helps you plan for your financial future, helps you build a savings plan, helps you build a credit plan. And those things are really important. But one of the things that I think will resonate with all of you and all of us who've been athletes or worked in any realm, your health is about habits. Your results on the sports field or the athletics that you compete in is about habits. Your financial wellness is about habits. So a lot of the things that we try to work with our customers on is helping you build healthy habits. Things that are going to help you over the long term accumulate wealth and accomplish your financial dreams.
All right, I've squeezed us on time a little bit, so I want to give everyone just one parting thought here. Tim, I'll start with you. I don't want to sound like a presidential election, but 45 seconds.
This is debate.
No, debate. I'm sorry, not an election, a debate. Okay. Yes.
I don't have a whole lot. I like my chances against Rich over my chances against John. I don't have a whole lot to offer, more than what I said. But I will say one thing that has always stuck with me since, I can close my eyes and remember standing on the field, listening to the national anthem the last time I played college football, knowing I was never going to play again. And what I would say to all of you, no matter what you do, what your sport is, however you see it, whatever the opportunity is, the next time you have a chance during a national anthem or during a quiet moment before a competition, close your eyes and think about where you are. And think about how many kids your age would do anything to trade with you and have that opportunity. Because here's the deal. Whether it's money or it's the opportunity to be a student athlete or it's your career, nothing lasts forever. Okay? These are opportunities that people your age would kill to have. Don't let them pass you by, because the next thing you know, they'll be gone and you can't get them back. So appreciate it at every moment that you can and make the most of every opportunity. They don't last forever.
Rich?
spot on. I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's like drop the mic. The only other thing I will say is when Tim was talking about all the skills that you have as student athletes, one of the things that I see the most is failure. For whatever reason, people are scared to fail. And as a student athlete, you fail every day and you get right back up. And what I see in the business world is, for whatever reason, people don't even want to come to the plate and swing the bat because they're afraid of failure. And I think as a student athlete, you've learned to overcome that. And that in and of itself, just that attribute, walking through the door and talking to someone who's going to employ you or want them to employ you. The fact that you're willing to fail and fall down and get back up and do it again, that attribute will take you very far in life.
John, you get the final word.
Well, what a gift to be in this group of incredibly talented people in this room. I really appreciate the time and your attention today. You know, I would add to their point really just this, that as you leave here, you've all had coaches and teachers and parents who've had a big impact on you so far. But as you leave college athletics and you leave college in general, you're still going to need people to help you along the way. Friends, family members, other people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. We all need it. It doesn't matter how great you look on the outside, we all need help. And where there are people here, there's organizations here, there's infrastructure around you to help you be successful. So congratulations on the journey so far, and we're looking forward to seeing what you do in the future.
John Jordan, Rich McGlynn, Tim Pernetti, a lot of great wisdom here. So let's give them a round of applause to thank them.